So what can we do with a comic book film with lots and lots of magic? Let's get one of the masters of horror and turn it into a horror film. Which surprisingly it does work. But that's what's good about the film. What's wrong with the film? Well, let's find out. I'm Berryman and this is 10 Things Wrong With. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is a 2022 American superhero film. It tells the story of Doctor Strange, who has to protect America, a teenager capable of travelling through the multiverse from the Scarlet Witch. When the film was released, it received predominantly positive praise, mainly for the direction and visual, and also Elizabeth Olsen's performance, while there was a lot of criticism towards the plot. But what have I found wrong with this film? Well, let's discuss 10 things wrong with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Number 10, 616. Anyone who is a fan of comic books will know that Marvel Comics is set in Earth 616. Marvel themselves have released a guide to every single multiverse that's out there, each and every Earth, the Ultimate Universe, the Spiderman, the animated series multiverse. They all have their own Earth numbers. Now, the MCU is also officially has its own multiverse number, and it is Earth 199999. I think I got it right. There's 5 nines in it, so 159. So why in this film are they calling the MCU Earth 616? No, that's the comics, not the MCU. There's a big discrepancy there, and I didn't kind of like that. I've always known that the MCU was a big Earth number. Why put it to Earth 616? That's not accurate, completely wrong, and it's a big on the actual comics that you're supposed to be, like, promoting? Number 9, what happened next? So, at the end of the first film, Baron Mordo kills another sorcerer, saying no more sorcerers. And then we have the whole Infinity War saga and loads of other adventures. So now going back to a Doctor Strange film, I was actually kind of looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next. Is there going to be Baron Mordo trying to kill every sorcerer on the planet? Is he going to use the multiverse as his weapon? No, in fact, that didn't even get mentioned at all. Now, is it to do with the fact that the actor was unavailable? Well, no, because the actor was in this film because he was the Sorcerer Supreme in another multiverse, so that wasn't the case. There's no explanation why they didn't actually carry on the story created at the end of the first film. Didn't really like that. Number 8, Avengers Disassembled. So following on from the fact that he didn't follow on from the story at the end of the first film, the story of this film, or the backbone of this story, is actually from Avengers Disassembled. Brilliant story if anyone's ever read it, but basically the Avengers, and in the comics there's hundreds and hundreds of Avengers by now, the Avengers are under attack from an unknown source, and they are being attacked by everyone. Ultron, every past villain they've ever faced has come back to attack the Avengers, and it turns out the Scarlet Witch is losing her mind because of her children. Which is sort of what they've done with this film, but instead of putting it as Avengers Disassembled, they've put it in a Doctor Strange film. Now this is the weird thing, Kevin Feige has actually said they're going to be sort of dialing back on the Avengers films. Well, this would have been a perfect film to have. Avengers Disassembled, the remaining Avengers being attacked by all their previous enemies, including Thanos again, Ultron, Loki, the Chitauri, everyone they face in the MCU. You could have brought in everyone, and then it turned out it's the Scarlet Witch, and have a massive battle between the Avengers and the Scarlet Witch. And that would have worked within the MCU. But the fact that they stuck it in this film, I think they've wasted an opportunity, and it could have been an in-story explanation of why we're not having any Avengers films anymore. Wasted. Number 7, Attack on New York. Word of warning, do not live in New York in the MCU, because let's face it, this is what, the 3rd, 4th? This is, I mean, New York gets attacked a lot by aliens. Now, this time, where were the rest of the Avengers? So Doctor Strange was there, Wong turned up. Now, there are still some Avengers around. Hawkeye's technically still around, the new Hawkeye's still around, the new Black Widow, Spider-Man. Although no one knows he is Peter Parker, but Spider-Man's still around. What about the new Captain America / Falcon, the Winter Soldier? All these people are all based in or near New York, and not one of them came to the rescue when a giant alien attacks New York, just like it happened the last few times. It's like no one's paying attention anymore. They're just making MCU films just for the sheer hell of it now, aren't they? Number 6, Spider-Man. So yeah, Spider-Man gets a huge reference in this film, which is not, actually no, it is surprising, because why did Doctor Strange do what he did? He wouldn't remember that part because he didn't know who Peter Parker was, or does he still remember? I didn't quite like that Easter egg. It didn't need to be in this film. He could have made reference that we had an adventure with Multiverse, but I can't remember the ins and outs of it. That would have been fine, but you went into too much detail. You knew that the Multiverse adventure was to do with Spider-Man. And you're raising way too many questions with that one line. Didn't need to be in this film. In fact, it sort of nulls what happened in No Way Home, and that was a good film. Number 5, Smartest Man. Read any comic book and Mr. Fantastic is officially the smartest man in the whole of the Marvel Universe. Now, he hasn't been in the MCU, so that title technically belongs to Tony Stark. In the comics, Mr. Fantastic is more intelligent, also has less of an ego. So when he finally makes his debut in this film, played brilliantly, he isn't actually that smart. It's like you're telling the villain of the film the only way this guy can kill you. And it didn't work because she stopped him doing what he does. That wasn't very smart. Yes, I'm already aware that there's actually a TikTok meme about this, but the point still stands. Number 4, Professor X. Professor X is back, played again by Patrick Stewart. Amazing, and let's face it, he is always going to be perfect for this role. So why am I mentioning him in one of my lists? Because you killed him again. So this is the 4th time Professor X has died. What makes it more funnier is this is the 9th live-action appearance of Professor X. Now, when you take out James McAvoy's version, this is the 6th version of Patrick Stewart's, and you've killed him 4 out of those 6 times. You know, if it ever happens again where Professor X turns up and he's played by Patrick Stewart, you know he's just going to die. If you want a Professor X that's going to survive, let's get James McAvoy back. But stop killing Patrick Stewart. I mean, hell, you even killed him in Star Trek Picard. Number 3, Born in a Barn. I hate that saying. My mum used to say it to me all the time when I was a kid, and annoyingly, I do say it to my kids as well. And what Born in the Barn means is when you go into a place and you leave the door open. Just like Doctor Strange did when he gets to the multiverse and goes and finds that book. They leave the door open, which means the bad guy, in this case Scarlet Witch, can come in. What makes it even worse is only Doctor Strange can open that door, so once you closed it, she can't get in. Simple things. Walk in a room, close the door. And on this occasion, what made it even funnier is that literally every door you passed that she could break through, you closed. And the one door that she couldn't, you left open. What are we going to do with you, Phil? Number 2, Wasted Journey. So in the climax of this film, Wong and America escape through one of America's portals and they go to Kamar-Taj. Great, that's fine. Now, a little bit later when they go and rescue Doctor Strange, America opens up another portal and they're back on snowy mountains. Why did they go back? They didn't need to. You've just created another journey off screen, I might add, where you've gone from Kamar-Taj to back to the snowy mountains to rescue Doctor Strange. I didn't quite get that. That doesn't make sense. Now, unfortunately, I have done some research. I know why. It was because of the original script, which was changed when they swapped Doctor Strange and Spider-Man around. But the point still stands, because obviously they're on a CGI screen, so it should have been a quite simple, easy fakes, but they didn't. So it didn't tally up. They go to one place, and the next time you see them, they're in another place. I mean, there's no reason why they went back to that snowy mountain at all. Number 1, ending. I didn't quite like the ending of this film. Not the fact that Doctor Strange now has a third eye. That opens up possibilities. The bit I'm not happy about is the fact that they killed off Scarlet Witch. Or it appears to be. She might come back. But the fact that they showed it, I didn't kind of like that, because there's still so much more you can do. She can still have a redemption arc. You could actually do a House of M storyline in the MCU, but you need her to actually pull it off. I mean, House of M is a fantastic comic book, and it's a brilliant way to introduce mutants into the MCU. But no, where you've killed her off, you have killed off quite a lot of potential stories that you could still do with the MCU. Final thoughts. When it comes to this film, I do like the new direction of this film, where they've now added the horror element, and they've got Sam Raimi in to do it. Now, it's not all out gore, it's not all out horror. They insinuate it rather than show you it, and strange enough, it's a lot more effective, and I really enjoyed that. There's a lot more brutality, especially when Black Bolt dies. Wow, that was awesome. And Captain Carter, you didn't see her, but you knew exactly what happened. And yeah, it was really, really well done. The effects on this, it was a little bit ropey at times, but ultimately it was really good. And seeing Benedict Cumberbatch actually playing lots of different versions of Doctor Strange was also quite interesting as well. I also did enjoy the fact that they did a flashback and he looked more like he did in Sherlock than he does in Doctor Strange. And especially in that scene, you actually see how much he has changed. And it was quite an interesting thing. I did like the story. The runtime for me wasn't actually as bad, because this film kept me engaged all the way through. It kept me guessing, and it wasn't one of these films where it was drawn out. You didn't know what was going to happen. I did enjoy the fact that Scarlet Witch's goal wasn't to destroy the world. She just wanted to have her children back. Now, this is a common complaint I've had about the MCU for a while, that every film, the world, or in this case, which I will swear they were going to do, the multiverse is in danger. No, the multiverse wasn't in danger. There's the potential that the multiverse could be destroyed, but that wasn't the goal. That wasn't her objective. Her objective was she wanted to go to another universe to be with her children. Now, as a parent, and most parents could actually attest to, I can understand that. Now, luckily, I'm not a parent who's lost a child. I could imagine what it would feel like to lose a child. People who have could probably really get behind her. I can empathise with this bad guy, and that's something the MCU is hit and miss with. Sometimes it does it well. It did it brilliantly with Thanos. But the Dark Elf from the Dark World, no one cared. This time, everyone understands her motive. In fact, Doctor Strange understood her motive and used that to defeat her. And that was a good concept to actually do. Other than that, so let's get down to the main thing. What am I going to rank this? Well, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 berries. There's still some issues with the MCU, and I think the MCU has passed its peak, but out of the last few offerings we've had, this is one of the better ones. Next up is the Thor film, which I'm kind of excited to see, but by the time this is released, it will be out. On to next week. Do you know what? I'm going to do a film that was requested a couple of years ago, and I haven't actually seen this, but it's a sequel to a film that I've already done before. And it's based on a TV series, and it's a sequel. Really cryptic clue. Come back next week to find out what I think, and also what the hell I'm on about. Till then, take care, bye-bye.